Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome back to my channel and to today's video, which is my top tips for booking and planning a holiday. I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking this, but it is definitely the time of year where I am daydreaming about warmer weather, but it's also the time of year where you may well seriously be thinking about booking a holiday if you are in a position to be able to do so, whether that be in the UK or abroad. And so I thought it might be quite nice to do a little mini series on my channel all about travel and tips and planning and things. So if you didn't know, we are a family that loves to travel, and I also worked in the travel industry for many years before having my kids, and also for a little bit when my eldest was born. So travel is definitely a huge passion of mine. So I thought it would be nice to film some travel tip videos. The one today I'm actually working with ABTA on. ABTA is something which I will talk about a lot more in a minute, but it is a travel brand that I have recognised and trusted for many years. But I also thought I would film some videos all about perhaps road trip tips and planning for road trips, because I have had quite a lot of questions about that, and also perhaps tips for getting the best deals for flights and for holidays and things. But if you have any that you would like to see from me, then do leave me a comment below. But I am just going to get started, and here is my first tip. These tips are quite generic tips for when it comes to booking a holiday, but like I said, let me know if you would like me to go into any more specifics. So my first tip is to think about what holiday you actually want to go on. That may sound silly, but there is so much choice for holidays out there. Do you want to go away in the UK or abroad, for example? Do you want to go away just for a long weekend, or do you want to go away for 2 weeks? Do you want to do a sun type holiday where everything is catered for you and you just sit on the beach all day? Do you want to move around while you're there and stay in different places? Do you want to do a city break where you go and explore a new city? Do you want to go camping? Do you want to do a road trip? Do you want to do a ski holiday or a beach type holiday? There are so many different things that you can do, and I think the first thing is to really think about what type of holiday it is that you want to go on. So I always think that when you're traveling with children, it does change things slightly, but I also want to stress that you don't have to not do things just because you have children. Our children have been on city breaks and really loved them. We've just changed what we would do to sort of cater in with them a little bit as well. So you don't have to think just because you've got kids that you're resigned to a life of kids clubs and kids activities and things, because children are really adaptable and they can be whatever you want the holiday to be. So first things first, definitely think about what type of holiday it is that you want to go on. Talk to friends, see what they've done, look online for advice and things. And then once you've kind of decided on the type of holiday you want to do, then you can start to plan and research a little bit more. So tip number 2 is, once you've decided what type of holiday you want to do, you then need to decide where you want to go. Do you want to go in the UK or do you want to go abroad? Would you like to stay short haul, for example, and just fly short haul, or would you like to fly further afield and go long haul? Would you like to not fly at all and perhaps go by boat or go by train? Would you like to go somewhere where it's really warm weather, or would you like to go somewhere a little bit cooler? And all these things are things that you need to take into consideration. What I normally do is I get together a short list of places I would like to go, and then I look at my budget and work out whether these places would be achievable. I also look at Instagram. I get a huge amount of advice and inspiration from Instagram, and I look up hashtags of different places to see what they look like. I look on travel websites as well. I also do things like, if I know, for example, I want to go somewhere warm, I check the average holiday kind of weather temperatures in that area. So for example, if I was going to be going somewhere in July, there are websites that you can go on where you can actually check the weather to see whether it would be too hot, especially if you're traveling with a baby, for example. You might not want it to be too hot, and therefore you might want to go in a slightly less hot time. And I look at all these different things and I come up with a short list of where I would like to go. I then talk to my husband, I talk to friends potentially who have been these places, and like I said, I look on Instagram. I'll look at the hashtag for that country, or even narrow it down more and look at the hashtag of the town or resort I want to go to, look at all the pictures. From there, you might even be able to find different hotels and things. So that's my next tip. My next tip is to think about the accommodation that you want to stay in. And again, you may think that this sounds really simple, but there is so much choice for accommodation. So first of all, do you want to stay in a hotel, or would you perhaps prefer to stay in a villa or do self-catering? Obviously in a hotel, it tends to be a little bit more money, especially dependent on the board basis that you go on. So if you went and did all inclusive, you may well get everything included, but the package would be a lot more expensive. It's also worth, if you do something like all inclusive, to check the small print, because certain things might not actually be included. You could do something like half board, and then you get the option to go out for lunch each day. You may want to do self-catering, which tends to be the cheaper option, especially if you are someone that likes to cook while you're on holiday, because you can cook a lot of your meals and save money on going out for meals. You may not want to stay in either of those. You may well want to do camping. You may well want to go on a cruise. You may well want to do a little bit of both, and you could maybe do like a multi-holiday. Are you somebody that wants to do something where it's literally a package holiday and everything is taken care of for you, from your transfers to arriving at the hotel, and everything is simple and straightforward? So it's definitely worth thinking about the accommodation that you want to do. So my next tip is, once you have thought about where you want to go, the type of holiday you want to go on, and the type of place you want to stay in, it's then time to start thinking about actually booking your holiday. And this can be really nerve-wracking, because there is just so much choice out there. There are so many travel brands offering so many different things, and it can be quite overwhelming, especially if you don't have a huge amount of experience in booking holidays. And so this is where booking with an ABTA approved travel brand is hugely beneficial. So ABTA is a non-for-profit travel brand which have been offering guidance, support and advice to travellers and holiday makers for over 65 years, and they have over 4,300 travel companies and brands on their books, ranging from really big well-known holiday companies that you will all have heard of to smaller ones that you might not have heard of as well. But if you book with an ABTA approved travel brand, however big or small, you will know that you are going to get some benefits and reassurance. So for example, at the moment there's obviously lots of talk about Brexit and uncertainty about booking holidays. If you booked with an ABTA approved travel brand, then you would know that if for any reason there was a problem or the company went out of business, that you would have support and guidance as soon as you needed it. Also, if you book with an ABTA approved travel brand, you will know that they have been vetted and screened, and that company will be of a really high standard. Also, other things, ABTA work in conjunction with the Foreign Office. So if there was a crisis before you went or while you were there, they would also be able to offer help and assistance with that. So there are a number of ways of finding out if a company is an ABTA approved travel company. Like I said, they have over 4,300 members, so there's loads of choice on there. One way in which you can find out is a lot of the companies will have the ABTA logo on their website, because obviously it's a really big accolade to be ABTA approved. So I will flash the ABTA logo up on screen now. So if you are booking, always look for a company that has that on its website. Another way, if you aren't 100% sure, you can actually go onto the ABTA website itself and you can search for a member to see if they are on there. So I will leave the link to that if you would like to go and check it out. Also, ABTA are doing a campaign at the moment which is all about travel with confidence, and they're actually giving away an Apple Watch on their website. They're just encouraging people to go on their website and check it out, find out more about ABTA and things. So I will leave the link to that as well if you would like to go and see it. But definitely book with an ABTA approved travel company if you can, because it just gives you that little bit of peace of mind and little bit of reassurance that you are booking with a reputable company and a company of high standard. My next tip is all to do with when should you book your holiday? When should you book your holiday to get the best deal that you can get? And I might actually do a different specific video all about this, but in a nutshell, my advice is to book as far as you can in advance. So booking last minute sometimes can be great, especially if you are flexible, but if you're traveling with children, more than often than not, you can't be flexible because you've got school holidays and things, or if you're working and you have certain holiday dates. So my advice advice is to always book as far in advance as you possibly can. Also, by booking last minute, you might not necessarily get the exact accommodation that you want because things will be booked up. But by booking as far as you can in advance, you get the pick of the accommodation, you get the pick of the rooms, and you more often than not get the best deals. So we have got really good deals by booking as far in advance as we can. We also then can pay just a deposit usually, and then you can pay the rest off as you go along. So it's worth it in terms of budgeting and saving. It's also worth checking out the flight and holiday sales. So flight companies and holiday companies are similar to other brands in the respects that they do sales, and you can often get a really good deal if you book in the sales. So we have got really good flights by booking in sales before, and the companies tend to do them when you would kind of expect sales to be. So end of year sales, January sales, spring sales. They even do Black Friday sales. So do check out sales if there's a specific holiday or destination that you want to go to. My next tip is specifically to do with if you are traveling with children, but do your research and your planning as much as you can beforehand. So traveling with children is amazing, but it's obviously very different to traveling just as adults. So if you do the planning beforehand, you can relax and enjoy your stay while you are there. So for example, check out what your accommodation has to offer kids facilities wise. If you're staying in a hotel, it may well be that they offer kids entertainment both at night and during the day. But it may be that these are just a drop-off service, or it might be that you need to book them beforehand. So if this is something you're interested in, definitely check with the hotel before you travel. Also, things like booking a cot, you may need to let the hotel know beforehand about that, or any extra beds that you may need. And also things like kids menus. Some hotels will offer specific kids menus, especially if you have a fussy eater or a child with an allergy. It's definitely worth checking things like that out with the hotel first too. If you are staying in a villa or a self-catering apartment, then you may well need to tell them what type of equipment you need before you travel. Many of these places will offer loads of different equipment for children, but it may be that you need to tell them. So for example, if you need a stair gate, or you need a high chair, or you need a cot, it's worth letting them know beforehand before you travel. If you are going on a flight to reach your destination, then it's worth letting them know that you are traveling with a child. We have made the mistake many times, more specifically on long haul flights, of getting on the flights and thinking because we've requested child seats we will get a child meal. That is not the case. If you want a child meal, you need to ring up and pre-order one. So definitely do that if you want a kids meal for a long haul flight. Likewise, on a long haul flight, if you are traveling with a child under 2, they do qualify for a crib or bassinet, which goes onto the bulkhead of the seats, and it means that you can get the extra legroom seats. However, these are not an automatic given. You do need to ring up for them, and also there's only a limited availability each flight depending on who's on the flight. So if you would like one of those, it's definitely worth ringing up and expressing interest in having one, and they will try and do their best to accommodate you. So my next couple of tips are all to do with if you are flying to your destination. So first up, check the flight times. More often than not, if you're booking a package holiday, they will piece together the holiday for you, and you don't tend to really get much choice with the flights. But more often than not, you can go into a bit more detail and you can change the flight times, and that's definitely worth it, because not only can it drastically alter the price of your holiday, more often than not, the kind of flights that you think are more antisocial hours, so very, very early morning or late at night, are often cheaper. And we also find that when traveling with kids, these flights are actually more ideal for us. We find that daytime flights in the middle of the day are the hardest ones with our children because they're really lively, but we find that late at night flights, they relax more, and also early morning. So it's definitely worth checking the flight times to see whether you can kind of change the flight time and therefore alter the price or also alter the convenience. Likewise as well, my next tip is also to do with flights, but it's to check other airports. So expand your airport radius. If you can travel, it's sometimes worth not necessarily going to your biggest city airport and actually going to one of the regional airports, because more often than not, you will find that the flights are cheaper at regional airports than they are at the big, the kind of well-known city airports. So it's definitely worth it if you can, and if you are flexible, just expanding your search a bit and checking out the regional airports too. So my next tip is all to do with airport parking, which is a really boring one, but it's really beneficial to book as far in advance as you can. So pretty much as soon as you've booked your holiday, book your airport parking. The sooner that you book, the more likely you are to be able to get a better deal. We have so many times forgotten about the airport parking, then gone to book it a month before or a couple of weeks before, and it's been so expensive. Also, if you book in advance, you're more likely to be able to get a better deal on better parking, if that makes sense. So we are really big fans of valet parking. So standard parking is what you would expect. You go to the airport, you generally park in a car park off the airport, and then you get a bus in. But the sooner you book in advance, the less price it is to do the valet parking. Sometimes we've got it for just a few pounds more than the standard parking. And valet parking is where you drop your car off at the airport. They park it for you generally in a multi-story on the airport itself. And then when you've got off your long flight with all your luggage and your children, you can literally just walk to your car, and that is so beneficial. And like I said, usually if you book really far in advance, you will find that it's only a few pounds more to do the valet parking than it is to do standard parking. If you wait, the prices change dramatically between the two, but if you book in advance, you'll often find that you'll get a really good deal on better parking. And my final tip is to do your research. That may sound silly because you've booked your holiday, what else is there you need to do? But I always think that the more planning you do in advance, the more fun you're going to have on your holiday. I am a big fan of planning a holiday. It drives my husband mad, but I just love it. To me, it's so much fun. And the way in which I plan and research for holidays, I use social media a lot. Instagram is by far my favorite way of planning a trip. So look at hashtags of where you are staying, even go as far as to look at the hotel tag and look at the location and see what other people are doing while they're there. We've found hidden beaches, we've found amazing restaurants, all by looking on Instagram. So save things to your Instagram saved tab and make sure you kind of keep them saved so you can find them easily. But Instagram is a massive source of inspiration for me when planning a trip. Likewise, things like YouTube and blogs are also useful. Travel websites are really brilliant as well. I keep a notes tab on my phone, and then I can quickly go to it, add things on, and then I'm researching really well. And I definitely think that the more research and planning you do, the more your trip will run smoothly when you're actually there. And that is it. That is my top tips for booking and planning your holiday. So like I said, these tips are quite generic, they're quite simple. I didn't go into too much detail, but please let me know if you would like to see more travel type videos. I can definitely do more detailed tips if people would like me to. I could talk about travel and travel planning and travel tips all day long because it's just something that really interests me. It's what my work used to be, and I really enjoy chatting about it. So please let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this from me. Also, leave me a comment below and let me know if you've booked any holidays for this year. I love hearing where people are going on holiday. So let me know if you've booked any holidays, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.